Welcome aboard the Bitcoin Express. My name is Chase. Let's get to it. Today, we're going to talk about 5 opportunities and challenges for cryptocurrency in Africa. Let's get right to it. Reason number 1. Crypto is popular in Africa. In the article in front of me from Cointelegraph, it starts off mentioning that back in April, Google Trends data revealed that Lagos in Nigeria has the world's highest volume of online searches for Bitcoin. When I first read this, I was a little shocked. I didn't believe it, so I went to check it for myself. Here I am on Google Trends, and I searched the countries with the highest search volume for Bitcoin. Number 1, Nigeria. And then what was even more surprising is that number 2 is South Africa. I would have totally thought, and maybe you would have as well, that it might be some places in Asia or maybe in America. So we do know that cryptocurrency is popular in Africa. And why is it popular? Because the current system, the current infrastructure, it's not very favorable to Africans, so they're looking for an alternative. For example, PayPal, they actually bar Nigerians from receiving international money transfers because of the currency's reputation for fraud. So this leaves a lot of Africans out of the system. And then if they do want to be involved in the system and send money internationally, they have to find an alternative that charges very, very high fees. So this is one of the reasons why people are, searching for cryptocurrency, searching for Bitcoin, because they need an alternative. And then also surprisingly, who do you think, what countries hold the most cryptocurrency? For example, how many people living in the country hold it? Again, I would have assumed places like America, places in Asia. Very surprisingly, it looks like it's South Africa. So Hootsuite did a study in 2019, part of their global digital yearbook, and they found that 10.7% of South Africans possess crypto. And not only that, they also found that Nigerians list at around 7.8% and Ghana at 7.3%. And I have the chart over here from their study. So it shows that South Africans actually hold a lot of cryptocurrency, or just more relative to other countries. I do want to note, this is information that we know, that we have access to, on from registered places or registered exchanges. It could be possible that there are other countries where more of their consumers, or of their citizens, hold the cryptocurrency. So this was one study. In other studies, you had South Africa showing that 16% of the country holds cryptocurrency. So you're never going to find exact numbers. A lot of studies, they're independent. All we ask for in studies is that they're repeated many times and that they're within the same ballpark. So the bottom line here is we know that Africans are interested in cryptocurrency. Number 2, the problems that it solves for them. So this includes cross-border payments, such as remittance payments. And what is a remittance payment? It's the idea of someone sending money from one country to another. So what happens in places like Africa, or very, very poor continents and in poor countries, are people will go work abroad where they can make a lot more money, and then they'll send a payment back home to support their family. But the problem is in Africa is a lot of businesses, they don't want to do work in Africa. It might not be worth it for them. It might be too dangerous. So even if they do want to participate and offer this service, they charge very high fees. Even when you're in a good country, the average cost of sending, for example, $200, it remained at around 7% in the first quarter of 2019. That is for remittance payments. And that is very high. Now, when it comes to Africa, it reports that remittance costs across many African corridors and small islands in the Pacific remain above 10%. So just to give you an idea of that, if someone moves abroad and they send over $1,000 to their family back in a country in Africa, $1,000, 10%, that would include a $100 fee. And people need to realize that $100 in poor countries is a lot of money. That could be the cost of food for a whole family for a week, or weeks, or even a month or more. Access to medicine, access to clothing. So it's a lot of money, and people in Africa are sick and tired of it, and they're looking for something that is cheaper. And that's where cryptocurrency plays a role. And then also part of that, also the money is so volatile and it loses its value due to hyperinflation. And for this reason, for example, in Zimbabwe, it's become one of the biggest markets for cryptocurrency because consumers believe that the likes of Bitcoin and Ethereum are more trustworthy. So if you're hearing that, you might question, what? Bitcoin and Ethereum is more trustworthy? They're so volatile. The price crashes, the price goes up, it goes down. But you need to understand it's relative to what they're using in their country right now. So Zimbabwe, they had in 2019 an inflation rate of 175%. So taking Bitcoin or Ethereum, just holding that would have played out better for people in Zimbabwe rather than holding their own currency. And it's not only Zimbabwe. You also have places such as South Sudan, inflation rate of 56%. So by having cryptocurrency, you can actually find something that is less volatile. And then maybe if you want something that's not volatile at all, you can use stable coins in the country. So this is another reason that Africans, they want it. There's an opportunity in Africa for the growth of cryptocurrency. Number 3. So we talked about remittance payments. We talked about volatility. But now with number 3, it's simply being your own bank. So banking the unbanked. Research from the World Bank suggests that many of the world's 1.7 billion are unbanked are on the continent, and that would be the continent of Africa, while 2 in 3 adults in sub-Saharan Africa do not have access to a bank account. So remember, we're not talking about countries in Northern Africa, such as Algeria or Egypt or Morocco. We're talking about sub-Saharan Africa. And why is it a problem that people are unbanked? Well, first, the simple one is, where do you keep your money? Let's say the person listening, you have $10,000, you never have to think really where to store it. You put it in a bank, no issue. But what about when you don't have a bank? What do you do with $10,000 or more? And then another thing is, how are you supposed to have any business if you don't have simple banking? This explains why Africa is the poorest continent in the world, yet they probably are the continent with the most natural resources. They have oil, they have gold, they have coffee, they have tea, they have diamonds, they have copper, they have cotton. So many natural resources. How is it that they are a poor continent? Because when you don't have banking, when you don't have a place to store money, you can't participate in global trade. But now with cryptocurrency, of course, we know that it's very easy to store your money and also send your money. So this can give an opportunity to people in Africa to save their money and use it and send it across the world. And this will unlock the economic growth for Africa. And the Cointelegraph article I have puts it here the best. They say, quote, "For the first time, Africa has the opportunity to have a seat at the table." So that's 3. It's simply giving banking to the unbanked and letting them participate in global trade. And just a little addition to that is, on top of it being used as money, it'll also possibly be able to use the blockchain system for other purposes. For example, developing blockchain-based ID system for its citizens, which in turn could enable financial institutions to verify identities and build credit histories in a way that wasn't possible before. So again, people all around the world, when they want to start businesses, they usually take out loans. That's how it's done a lot of times in America. You take out a loan, or people invest in your company based on your history. But in Africa, people don't have anything. They have no reputation, they have no history, they have nowhere to store. So we went over those first 3 opportunities. Everything sounds good, right? But of course, whenever it sounds too good, there's always some problem. So that's where we're going to hit number 4. This video, remember, is about 5 opportunities and challenges of cryptocurrency in Africa. So number 4, this is a challenge. Not all countries in Africa are so friendly to cryptocurrency. So already a handful of African countries have banned crypto altogether or have put very strict regulation and rules on it, including Morocco, Algeria, Libya, Zambia, Namibia. So as you can see, some of these are in Northern Africa, not Sub-Saharan Africa, but still, governments and countries might not be so friendly. But South Africa, they are friendly. They're willing to have people come in and help and grow the space. There are countries that are willing. And that's why people like Jack Dorsey will be traveling. If you've been following the news, back in 2019, Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter and Square app that sells Bitcoin, he was in Africa and he traveled to Ethiopia, Ghana, Nigeria, and South Africa. And if you can see the picture in front of me, he met and he sat down with other African entrepreneurs who know that this technology can change the country. It could be life-saving for the country. So that was in 2019. And then he realized the opportunity there. Everything we talked about so far, Jack Dorsey understands it. He knows it. And that's why he sent out another tweet and he said that in 2020, he will be living in Africa for 3 to 6 months, trying to grow cryptocurrency, build up the infrastructure. But he hasn't mentioned yet which countries he will be living in. But he said that he is for sure going. So again, there's going to be governments that are not friendly, but the ones that are friendly, they don't really know what to do. That's why they need guys like Jack Dorsey. That's why they need entrepreneurs to come and help build the infrastructure. Number 5 of challenges. Maybe Bitcoin is too technical. Maybe cryptocurrency and blockchain is too technical. And this is a pretty valid argument. How are you supposed to bring a technology over when no one understands that? And this is one of the challenges that Jack Dorsey and these entrepreneurs in Africa are working on. They need to make a good front-end experience or user experience. And just to give you a quick idea of what that means, front-end is what the customer sees. Back-end, it's what's going on behind closed doors. It's the code in the back-end. So to give you a simple example, when you go to Instagram, the front end is what you see. It's the easy login page. It's the scrolling. It's the videos. It's the colors. But in the background, it's just a bunch of boring computer code. And you don't have to understand the code. All you have to understand is how to use the front end. And front end and back end is used in almost every technology that people use on a daily basis. You could even say for a car, the front end. You go in, you put your car key in, you press the button to start, you turn on the radio, gas pedal go, brakes to stop. But back end is what's going on in the engine, what's going on inside. It could be used also for email. You go in Gmail, you write an email, you send it, they receive it, done. But in reality, there's many complexities behind email. People don't understand it, and they don't have to understand it. As long as there are people in the community working on the back end and making it easier for the front end user, then it will work. And that's what these people are trying to do. They want to go into places like Africa. And although blockchain might be difficult for people to understand, and the way cryptocurrency works might be difficult for people to understand, Jack Dorsey and these entrepreneurs, they want to make it easy, a good front end experience. And then on one of these other hurdles is Bitcoin the right choice? A lot of these people in Africa, they're trying to run away from their currencies because they're too volatile. So will Bitcoin work? So as we mentioned before, for some countries, Bitcoin is better relative to the hyperinflation rates some of the other countries have experienced, such as Zimbabwe. They would much rather have something like Bitcoin that swings from its all-time high between 40% down and 50% down, or in 2019 alone, it has doubled itself, so it's been a great performing asset this year. Maybe they'll want to use it. But what about the countries whose hyperinflation rate is maybe only 20% or 15%? So then maybe they might want to use stablecoins. But back with Jack Dorsey, he did mention that when he goes to Africa, he's really talking about Bitcoin and the future of Bitcoin. He doesn't really have any plans to introduce any other alternative currencies or any stable coins for the country. So we'll have to see how that plays out. And then lastly, the risk is the internet. We always talk about Africa, mobile users, and internet, and no doubt it has grown over the years, compared to what it was 10 years ago. But at the same time, we have to ask, is it good enough? At right now, are there enough people with mobile phones? Are there enough people with internet? And then on top of that, the people with internet, is it solid internet or does it move slow? If you can see these charts in front of me, These are charts of mobile users in Africa. So on this first chart, there's actually no ranking in the country of Africa. There's no data. On the second chart, green on this chart means lowest, and pretty much the whole entire continent of Africa ranks green of mobile users. And then on this third chart, it talks about mobile connectivity. So even in Africa, when they do have mobile phones, are they on the internet? So we can see in Western Africa, it's around 33%, Middle Africa, 12%, Eastern Africa, 22%, and it's pretty high in South Africa at 83%. And another chart I have here, it talks about smartphones. Again, no area, it's grayed out for Africa. And then lastly, this is a chart of African mobile users with internet connectivity. And as you can see, the numbers are very low in most of Africa. 2%, 3%, 4%, 23%, 21%. And then again, we can see that South Africa over here is 52%. 52%. Now, what you have to realize about all of these maps we went through is that we don't know how many people have mobile phones. We don't know how many people have internet. That's why all of these charts are a little different. All we can ask for in studies, as I think I mentioned it earlier in the video, is that all studies, they're always going to be a little different. All we really want to know is, are they within the same ballpark? And we can see that we're in the ballpark when it comes to Africa, that we don't really know too much about what's going on there statistically. And even for the countries we do know about, it's uncertain how many people are using it, but it seems to be pretty low at the time. So that is something that Jack Dorsey and these entrepreneurs, they will need to work on too. To go into a country that they know there's opportunity, but they need to build the infrastructure. So just to recap what we talked about today of the 5 opportunities and challenges of cryptocurrency in Africa. So number 1, we know that cryptocurrency is popular in Africa and people want it. Number 2, we know that it solves problems such as remittance payments and also possibly the volatility of the current fiat money used in Africa. Number 3, we know that this is an opportunity for people to bank the unbanked, and this will give people now the chance to participate in global trade. Number 4, with challenges, who knows how friendly countries will be to cryptocurrency? Are they willing to let people from other places in the world come in and dictate how the financial system should be ran in their country? So that will be a challenge. And then number 5, is it too technical to use? And then even if it is too technical, or maybe it's not too technical, is the infrastructure in place? Is there enough people with cell phones and mobile internet? So these are the things that we will find out in 2020. And it's very exciting because there is a lot of opportunity in Africa. And I mentioned in the previous video something called asymmetric risk. It's when you make a small bet and the potential winnings or earnings are astronomical. Something like Africa, it's pretty much an untapped country. It has a lot of natural resources, and I'm sure it has a lot of smart people, but we've never had the opportunity to see what these people can provide and add to the world. So this is what we're going to find out now with cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and blockchain technology. If you found value in today's video and you want to hear content similar to this, subscribe to my channel so that you get a notification for my daily videos. I hope that you found value in today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again next time.